Good morning, everyone. A lot going on this morning, and I want to thank everybody who has sent me the link to this because, yes, this lawsuit and this exposes Watchtower and Jehovah's Witnesses' dirty secrets. And we've been saying this for years. We've known this for years, that they hide it, cover it up. All of these Pervos and the CSA, they just move around and keep it quiet. You don't want to bring reproach on Jehovah and the congregation. So I'm going to put the link down below to the article. Jehovah's Witnesses administrator confessed CSA without substantial consequence lawsuit says. Barry Davis says Joseph Fitzgerald Hall molested him in the 90s, yet Hall kept working for the church nearly impeded. And we know this is what they do. They keep it quiet. But, it is good, though, to start getting evidence, and at least this Hall had the guts to admit what happened. A U.S. man serving in various administrative roles for the Jehovah's Witnesses sexually molested a child whom he met while working for the Christian religious sect in New Orleans, then continued his career virtually unimpeded and moved to North Carolina after completing a disciplinary suspension of less than a year. He has admitted in writing and in a sworn deposition the stunning revelations about Joseph Fitzgerald Hall and how he has been managed by the Watchtower and Bible Tract Society of New York that runs the Jehovah's Witnesses, are contained in a lawsuit that the abuse survivor has been pursuing against both the group and the administrator. I don't know if he was above an elder or if he was an elder. Not quite sure what they mean by administrator. But we know it doesn't matter because it goes all the way to the top. In a recent interview, the survivor, Barry Davis, explained that one of his main reasons for coming forward was to ensure the congregation that Hall later joined in Charlotte, North Carolina, knew the full truth about him. Now, I have documents and articles and a lot. North Carolina seems to be a hotbed for the Pervos because there's several lawsuits, accusations, articles, you name it, in North Carolina. And that seems to be where they go, isn't that where Anthony Morris went? Just asking. Hall, while testifying under oath in the course of the lawsuit, acknowledged that there is no requirement to tell someone why you were disfellowshipped. And we all know that. The elders aren't even supposed to tell their wives why someone was disfellowshipped in the Kingdom Hall, which is the term to describe the suspension he served over his abuse of Davis. And like they said, less than a year. Less than a year. They should know out there, Davis said, this needs to be exposed to anybody. It needs to be exposed to, including the investigators. Already sent it to him. Davis, now 46, also said he shed his anonymity to support others who for years have been speaking out about child abuse within the Jehovah's Witnesses. Good. Thank you. We appreciate it. I'm so sorry about your abuse. This has got to stop. He contended that the evidence in his case just kind of drives the nail in about the reality of the issue. It does. The more these court documents and lawsuits get these things exposed and how they've been hiding this, the more it helps all of us to expose what's been going on for years. In his opinion, he said nothing's changed. No, it hasn't. About 8.5 million people globally are active members of the denomination, a primary tenet of which is that the world's destruction is imminent. Yeah, Armageddon. Hall, now 60, did not respond to requests for comment about his admissions. In a statement, an attorney representing the Watchtower Society, Billy Gibbons, same name as ZZ Top, maintained the actions of the accused in this lawsuit were his own and contrary to the beliefs and practices of Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, because they're going to cover their asses. That's what they always do. They don't care who they throw under the bus, as long as they can try to keep everything quiet and cover their asses so they don't bring a reproach to Jehovah's organization. Gibbons said his side could not elaborate while the case was pending in court, but he also wrote, "It is deeply distressing whenever anyone falls victim to such a heinous crime and sin. They finally call it a crime. Imagine that. Now if they would just start reporting all of these, you know what, sir? If you would just start reporting all of these to the police and maybe apologize to all of the victims, then you might make some headway and you would give us no further anything to be whistleblowers about and expose, because you'd be exposing it yourself. Oh, but you're not that smart, are you?" As he tells it, Davis was about 9 when he met Hall, roughly age 24, through a Jehovah's Witness congregation in New Orleans' Central City neighborhood. Hall promised Davis that he would mold him into one of the so-called Dryads congregation's next great leaders if the boy listened properly, according to the plaintiff's lawsuit. Yep, they always dangle that carrot in front of the person. But instead, the lawsuit argued Hall exploited his positions as a ministerial servant and later as an elder within the congregation to get close to Davis. Hall held private Bible studies with Davis, brought him along as he proselytized to potential new converts, and shared religious articles from the Watchtower Society with him. And that's what they do. It's called grooming. The lawsuit said Hall ultimately took advantage of that proximity to rape Davis and inflict other sexually abusive acts on him from 1990 to 1996, beginning when the boy was 11. Hall would tell Davis that 12 was the age of accountability, and therefore the boy bore fault for his molestation, the lawsuit said. Disgusting. He was a child. What child of 11 knows this? No, they only go by what the elders and parents tell them. You know, I've heard my entire life as a Jehovah's Witness, almost my entire life as a Jehovah's Witness, 49 years, obey the elders. Even if it doesn't sound reasonable for a human standpoint or not. That was in a Watchtower article.
The November 15th, 2013 issue of the Watchtower mentioned key points for elders in particular to keep in mind as we prepare to face the attack of that coalition of nations that the Bible calls Gog of Magog. Now I'm going to quote the article. This is what it stated. This is quote. "At that time, life-saving direction that we receive from Jehovah's organization may not appear practical from a human standpoint. All of us must be ready to obey any instructions we may receive, whether these appear sound from a strategic or human standpoint or not. Now is the time for any who may be putting their trust in secular education, material things, or human institutions to adjust their thinking."
Obey the elders. Will you see what this causes? Davis recalled disclosing his abuse to his mother, who was a single parent, along with another elder at their congregation by 1998. In February of that year, the elder initiated a type of disciplinary hearing that the Jehovah's Witnesses referred to as a judicial committee. Now, last year, in the August 2024 Watchtower study article, I believe, they said they're changing the name to Elders Committee meeting, since they do many other things. See? They are in so much trouble. They have no idea how much trouble, they are in. But see, Watchtower isn't smart enough. They just want to go around putting out all these little fires, hoping that's going to make the problem go away and solve it. No, it's not. Multiple congregation elders who formed part of the committee heard Davis deliver an account of the molestation he endured at the hands of Hall. The committee subsequently disfellowshipped Hall for 11 months, during which time he was in effect suspended from the congregation before he was allowed to return, the lawsuit said. But see, like it mentioned earlier, nobody in the congregation knew why he was disfellowshipped, because they're not going to warn the parents that he's a pervo. No, they don't do that. Pervo moves into the congregation. They do not warn the parents. No. These Jehovah's Witnesses are just going along, la 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 la, out in service, knocking on these doors, allowing their kids to go out in the field ministry and on Bible studies with these pervos with no idea. No idea. Meanwhile, the lawsuit added the committee instructed Davis to repent and quit his homosexual lifestyle. The group prohibited Davis from carrying the microphone at congregation meetings, working behind the literature counter, or leading trips to proselytize to prospective new members, along with other privileges. See? They took the victim's privileges away. And crucially, the lawsuit said it ordered Davis to cooperate with the Jehovah's Witnesses in keeping what Hall had done to him secret, because it would impugn the sect if word got out. And there you have it. That is a crime, to shut people up when a crime has been committed against them and they've been victimized, to keep quiet. That in itself is a crime. The lawsuit asserted such an instruction violated laws in Louisiana. See? Isn't that what I just said? Which require religious organizations such as the Jehovah's Witnesses to report any suspected child abuse to state authorities. Louisiana is a mandatory state, but they didn't. They didn't. I don't care what they print in their little watchtower saying they report it. Elders do not report it. Court documents. Davis said he complied with the committee's wishes for years, even after he was kicked out of standing in a friend's wedding when news of his having tried to hold Hall accountable circulated among the congregation. You can't blame these victims, these survivors, for wanting this to get out. This is why we keep doing this, whistleblowing. Because we're trying to protect the kids. That's what it's all about. We don't want it to happen to another single kid in this organization. And if Watchtower and Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem with that, well, you can kiss my you-know-what. But Davis said he eventually left the Jehovah's Witnesses and moved to the Dallas area in Texas. There, in 2014, about 6 years after his mother died, he decided to revisit Hall's abuse and the resulting treatment he got from the Jehovah's Witnesses after seeing a local news story about an attorney filing a lawsuit against the sect on behalf of 5 clients with their own abuse allegations. I remember covering that. There was a news report that 6 victims had come out in Texas over their abuse. And you abuse survivors, my goodness, you guys are our heroes. Davis said he reached out to that lawyer who could not assist him because his case unfolded in Louisiana rather than Texas. Then in 2019, he contacted New Orleans-based attorney Christy Schubert, who has represented a number of religious abuse survivors. But initially she couldn't help because Louisiana laws in effect at the time meant Davis had only until his 28th birthday to sue over his molestation by Hall. Davis was about 40 at the time. Nonetheless, in 2021, Louisiana's legislature enacted a law that in part temporarily allowed child molestation victims to file lawsuits seeking damages for the abuse no matter how long they had waited. Good. I would like to see every state in the United States, the world, I would like to see every government in the world do away with the statute of limitations for CSA. That is what we need. The law's constitutionality was challenged, probably by Watchtower, But Louisiana Supreme Court upheld it as constitutional on June 12, 2024. See, and isn't it interesting that some of these people, these politicians who fight against these laws to do away with the statute of limitations, are probably pervos themselves. That very same day, Schubert filed a lawsuit in New Orleans Civil District Courthouse on Davis' behalf. Good. It demanded damages from Hall and the Watchtower Society, including for the mental and physical trauma with which the plaintiff was left. Yeah, that is a lot of years to deal with the trauma. My goodness. The lawsuit has generated exceptionally compelling evidence against Hall, who, as of a deposition in March, said he was representing himself without an attorney. Oy vey. Good, good. Because when people represent themselves, they rarely win. In his mandatory response to the lawsuit, Hall wrote that he is guilty of having an inappropriate relationship with Davis. I'm not going to go into the details. Sick, sick, sick. Furthermore, Hall wrote that a book which Davis authored and is self-published about his abuse speaks truthfully to a large degree about the encounters. Well, at least he admits truthfully to a large degree. Schubert interrogated Hall under oath during a 27th March video conference deposition. Hall invoked his constitutional right against self-incrimination, pleading the Fifth Amendment at least 48 times. But he did answer when Schubert asked him if the letter was true and whether he wrote it of his own free accord. Hall's answer to both questions was yes. Yeah. Pleads the Fifth because he doesn't want to self-incriminate. Too late, dude. Hall additionally testified about how he had a wife as well as a son and how since 2003 he had belonged to a Jehovah Witness congregation on Monroe Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. He said he was considered what is known as a regular publisher, by which he was regularly participating in organized preaching at his congregation. Despite his being disfellowshipped after Davis reported his molestation, Hall said he does not know of any rule prohibiting from proselytizing around children. He also said there was no mandate for him to disclose the reason for his disfellowshipping to anyone, including fellow members of his congregation. And he's right. There's nothing in the Elders Manual or in Watchtower's policies and rules that they have to disclose to anybody that there's a pervo in their midst or that they're going out in service. We did a video years ago where someone had found a convicted pervo of CSA out knocking on doors, if I remember correctly, in Colorado. And you can go back and do a search on our channel. They caught him. And the other Jehovah's Witnesses in the car group didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear it. And the pervo admitted that he was a convicted offender. And the news, he even did an interview with the news admitting it. Speaking in the weeks after the deposition, Davis said Hall's statements evidently contradict the Jehovah's Witness claim in their policies that children are a sacred trust and their protection is of utmost concern and importance. That's what they claim. The protection of children is our utmost concern. No, protecting the organization and their asses are. Davis said he hopes Hall and the Jehovah's Witnesses make him whole for his ordeal. But furthermore, he said he hopes that Jehovah's Witnesses rethink the way they have let Hall carry on his business within the denomination. It's upsetting. It's infuriating, Davis said. I just think that is ludicrous. It is. And then they have a note at the bottom. In the U.S., call or text the Child Help Abuse Hotline on 1-800-422-4453 or visit their website for more resources and to report child abuse or DM for help. For adult survivors of child abuse, help is available at ascasupport.org. In the UK, the NSPCC offers support to children on 0800 1111. Then they've got some other numbers and stuff. So, my goodness. Wow. Just wow. But this is being exposed. We're getting this information, and that's why we're whistleblowers. Just to get this stuff exposed, because this has got to stop. Guess who just heard me doing my video and had to come in and make a comment?
Well, I really came in to thank you for leaving me some coffee.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. There are two things that I want to point out. We know for a fact that this organization is full of PMOs. And a lot of the PMOs are staying in here to hopefully wake up their family members. And that's a daunting task because your family members are under the influence of a psychosis. Evidence number one.
Although there is no divine inspiration today, still Jesus leads his people progressively through the services of the faithful slave. Jesus trusts that the imperfect faithful slave will do its best to convey spiritual food. Do you also trust the slave?
So the implication here is if you don't trust the governing body, then you're not trusting Jesus. See how that works?
Well, a lot of times they affiliate the governing body with Jehovah.
Yeah.
Like they're getting direct communication from Jehovah and instructions.
It's a psychosis.
Yeah.
Evidence number two.
Another way we can contribute to the oneness, rejecting false stories that are designed to separate us from Jehovah's organization. As an example, think about the apostate-driven lies and dishonesties that Jehovah's organization is permissive toward pedophiles. I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it? If anybody takes action against someone who would threaten our young ones and takes action to protect our young ones, it's Jehovah's organization. We reject outright such lies.
So if your family members dare to investigate any of this, they risk the fear of being found out and being labeled an apostate. That's the psychosis that this organization has influenced over its members. And until they learn to get some sort of psychiatric help to break that psychosis, well, all may be lost.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how much evidence the courts or ex-members can produce, the psychosis in the rank and file runs deep, and it's strongly connected to fear.
Yeah. But I do know there are some waking up.
Oh yeah,
because someone just sent me a picture of the Kingdom Hall, a PMO, thank you very much. Inside their Kingdom Hall during the midweek meeting, they said there was maybe a dozen people at the meeting. That's not much when you have a Kingdom Hall that can hold like 100 people.
No.
So
no, it's
it
not.
is working.
Yes, but those people that are waking up, they're breaking through that psychotic fear mechanism.
Our moms never will.
No, our mom, your sister, brother-in-law, brother, they're never going to break through that fear because that psychosis runs too deep.
Exactly. If I had one wish in the world, it would do away with all of these abusive organizations. All of them. All of them. I don't care who or what they are. All of them. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate it. Thank you for the emails and phone calls. And I appreciate you all sending me stuff because I don't always hear all this stuff. So I do appreciate you helping me out because I've been so busy uploading, stuff to the investigators. And thank you for those of you who have sent cards. Appreciate it. We love all of you so much, and we appreciate you watching and subscribing and liking because that helps us. It shows that you appreciate all the work we do. So you all have a wonderful week. Bye.